Is there anything anybody else would like to say?
This is Bob. I would
hi,
to
Bob.
Hi, guys. I would like to ask Claudia a question. Are you there, Claudia?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do you remember sometime in the last 6 months or a year or something that we talked extensively about the photon belt? So, and the photon belt was supposed to cause dramatic changes to everything. And so my question is, what became of the photon belt, and does that have anything to do with the scalar energies that you're talking about?
In my opinion, yes, it does. And the reason about the photon belt, first, photons are light particles. Light particles can carry information, and they can be used to cause a change on another particle. In the universe, our Milky Way galaxy is passing through a photon cloud. Well, it doesn't happen in a couple of hours. It doesn't happen in a couple of weeks or months or years. It's going to be a while. So we are on the fringes just now coming into the photon cloud. We are already experiencing stuff, but we may not recognize it because we're concentrating on other things in our lives. We're not noticing little things happening or coming about. And because you're not noticing them and you're busy concentrating on something else that's more important, like maybe you have to balance your checkbook, or you have to get dinner, or you have to pick up your child from the soccer practice. You have to go to work Monday morning, 8 o'clock. You got to be there bright and shiny and working hard to earn a paycheck to take care of your family. So, yes, the energy is here, and it's already starting to demonstrate its presence. If we recognize the demonstration, sometimes we can't recognize the presence, like a baby can recognize its mother's face when it's just a few weeks old or a few hours old, but it can't recognize a stranger. It doesn't know who it is, but it recognizes its mother. And this is demonstrated in the animal kingdom. You know, when a little duck first comes out of the egg, whatever it imprints on right away that's its mother. That's the way nature works. It's an interesting concept, but if we examine it and look at it and then look around us and see what's going on in our lives, maybe we can learn more. But it requires us to have the intention to want to know more than what is being given to us. Now, not to say anything about anybody's religion or their political leanings or whatever, but usually we get our information from electronic sources, and sometimes now you hear about fake news or this, that, and the other, and you're always laughed at or ridiculed if you say something that the rest of the crowd doesn't want to listen to. Ridicule is used as an effective weapon to put somebody in a bad position, even when they might have a parcel of truth that can help us live a better life and make a better choice. So, yeah, the photon cloud's there. Yeah, the Milky Way galaxy is entering it. Yeah, things are changing. And, boy, you ain't seen nothing yet. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Claudia. That's very interesting, isn't it?
Like I said, you ain't seen nothing yet. I mean, when you get up tomorrow, things might all be changed. Our planet is really in a bit of trouble, and we need to help it so we can keep our planet going and not have it polluted and destroyed. We're all part of it, all 8 billion of us that are living on it right now. and we don't know who else is living here. We hear all kinds of strange things, and people are seeing lights in the sky. I mean, what's the next new adventure? Oh, we're going to meet an extraterrestrial. When I was a little kid, I used to watch a lot of science fiction shows, and the joke among teenagers then was, what are the little green men looking for? And the answer is little green women. So, yes.
Very, very good, Claudia. Very good.
That's all there is right now. Thank you.
Well, thanks again, Claudia.
Can I change the direction of your discussion a little bit here?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
Earlier, this is, you were talking about Christ and his power and all that, something to do with Christ, I think. You mentioned something about that?
Yeah, I was talking about the so-called miracles.
Okay. Well, anyway, my question is this: does anybody know where Jesus is at this time? Is he?
I understand that he's on the etheric plane, high etheric plane, maybe forever.
Well, the reason I ask this is I've been doing another research project. I like to do my research, and I was inspired, I think, by the Real Guides to look into this. And what I'm doing is researching the history of the biblical teachings at a level that was taught probably 50 years ago or more by Herbert W. Armstrong, which was the head of the Worldwide Church of God that I used to belong to, and everybody called it a cult and everything else. But Mr. Armstrong wrote a very interesting book called the United States and Britain in Prophecy and Biblical Prophecy, and I've been rereading the book. And one of the things that I was reminded of is in the Bible, the Apostle Paul talks about how Jesus is sitting on the throne of God in heaven. And it just struck a chord with me. And what's interesting about that is Dwayne has been to the third heaven where the Calnaranjan or Grogg lives. And my understanding, at least from Dwayne's writings anyway, is that is the area today where the God of this world, or Grogg, is ruling as God over all the peoples on this planet. Is that a fair assumption from what you guys understand? Anybody want to comment on that one way or the other?
If he's still alive.
Pardon me? You say what?
Go ahead, Claudia.
Tim said if he's still alive. Yes, Jesus did so many miracles, and they have been accepted by many people as valid and true. The thing is that religious organizations have an objective, an agenda, so to speak. If you just set aside your beliefs for a moment and say, the Christian people, you go into church and you sing songs or you don't sing songs, you pray, you listen to words from the Bible, and then they pass the plate and you donate. And then you get down on your knees and beg for help. I don't mean to be so callous in the thoughts, but that's what we do. We ask for help. I need a new car. I need a job. We need a house payment, or can you help me with help find me a girlfriend? We ask God because there's nobody else that we know about. We're afraid to look behind the curtain to see what else is out there. It takes a brave person to step up and say, I'm going to research religion. Wow. Okay, that's very, very brave of you to research religion, because it may be having words that you would not agree with. It may have a thought or an idea or an agenda you may not agree with. There's so many different religions on this planet at the time, with many different believers and participants. And in the olden days, they had people put to death because they didn't believe a certain way. Well, all those people get to come back. It's like a pencil. It has an eraser on it. And if you make a mistake, you can erase it and start over again. Well, I firmly believe, and it's my belief, that God does not make mistakes. But he allows us to learn. We can make a mistake here on this place that's safe, like the planet Earth. We can have a love affair and learn about what is expected and what is wrong. And with this knowledge and information, we can grow. So when we look at Jesus, who came and did so many wonderful things that were reported and recorded, we all heard them and studied them in catechism class or whatever it was, Sunday school. We learned. But in learning, we were persuaded to believe one way and not to question. When you question, then you're considered not a believer. So it's something we have to choose to do, to look at things in the cold light of day and see it honestly. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Claudia. Well, the reason, it was your comment the other day when I was talking to you that the all is doesn't make any mistakes. Everything he does is all planned out way in advance. And so that's what got me to thinking about all this. And a lot of people that have not studied the Bible probably are not aware of this, but what's interesting is in the New Testament they had this guy named Paul. His name was Saul, and he got struck down by lightning, and God spoke to him, and this was after Christ was crucified, and he went on to basically start the churches, what became the Christian churches today. And one of the interesting things about this guy was in the New Testament it's recorded that he frequently went out of body and went to speak with God on the third heaven. Almost daily, he said. And thanks to Dwayne and his teachings, we know that Grogg, or the God of this world, is the one that's on the third plane, the third heaven, and is ruling all the religions. And so why would somebody like an apostle of the Christian church be communing on a daily basis with Grogg on the mental plane, where the throne of if you want to call it a throne, the Bible calls it a throne, where the throne of God sits, and that Grogg is, what does Grogg have to do with the Christian churches if the Christian churches are true to form? And why was this apostle, probably the most famous apostle, he's the one that wrote most of the New Testament, he's communing with the throne of God, and according to Dwayne's writings, at least what I gleaned out of it, was that there's only one throne in the third heaven, and that is Grogg, the Calneranjan, and where he rules from. And so we have this connection. And then the New Testament also said, Paul, this apostle, also says that after Jesus died and was crucified, he went to sit on the throne of God, which would mean that he went to the third heaven and is sitting there somewhere with Grogg in the background, or maybe the foreground or whatever. And so the research I'm doing right now is trying to connect the dots. You know, if what the Bible says is true, that Christ is sitting on the throne of God in the heaven, and the only heaven where there's a throne that I'm aware of is where Cal Naranjan's at, unless Jot Ranjan on the lower heaven has a throne, but the Bible refers to it as the Lord Almighty, the highest God, who I've already shown is and Dwayne has shown as Grogg. So that's why I asked: it would make sense if there's any truth in the Bible teachings that Jesus is sitting there with Grogg, the same place that this apostle went almost daily. So any comments about that from anybody?
Well, remember that. Oh, go ahead, Claudia.
Bob, what if there's more than one heaven? What if it keeps on going? Like, is there a heaven on the fourth plane, a heaven on the fifth plane, a heaven on the sixth plane, to infinity?
Well,
and the Bible doesn't mention it?
According to Dwayne, the heavens and the earth are within creation, and according to Dwayne and his Adventures of Rebazar, there's a higher heaven and a lower heaven, and those are all within creation. And the high heaven is on the mental plane, and the lower heaven is run by the Cal's brother, Jot Ranjan, and probably the astral or causal plane. So, if we're talking about a God beyond the deep dark border that the Bible is referring to, it puts everything in a different light, completely different light, if that is true. And that's what my research project is about. And you guys that travel there all the time, and I know you and Sandy and Dwayne, you could probably go up and say hello to Jesus, this afternoon, and you know exactly where he is and where he fits in the scheme of things, and I sure appreciate some feedback from that, because that would help my research. But if the God of the Bible is not the Cal Naranjan, and he's the all-is God beyond the deep dark border, that throws the Bible in a whole new perspective that we should take a close look at. Because the research I'm doing right now, there were promises that were made in the Old Testament about the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, primarily Jacob, becoming a commonwealth of nations and a great nation just in the end times. And so that would be very, very interesting to know.